What's up again there, guys? Brian here at 3TG here, bringing you another episode of my weekly Q&A show to help people's questions for I answer some of the questions that have been sent to me over the past week. As we go into this particular episode, we're about where we were as in questions for video, sense. We got 3 questions. There was a number of people that had kind of questions that were kind of all over the place. One person in particular I'd like to at least comment and acknowledge they're standing out, and that is Will Williams, who was extremely active, far more active than even I expected. So and he managed to get a question that I think actually works for the video, so I'd like to give him a personal shout out. So yes, I think some people are starting to get the idea of having questions that have depth, but there are also some people that I can see that they just want a quick answer, which is why I'm sure they don't mind just having their question answered in the comments. So, starting off with the first question that managed to make it into the video, coming from the Batman of Neo Gotham, and you want to know, what are my thoughts on the trailer for Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order? We don't know anything about it. I'm sorry. I mean, it's a nice looking trailer, but I gotta see some gameplay. I'm never. I don't care what it is. I'm never convinced by a cinematic trailer, ever, because cinematics can look incredibly good. I've seen plenty of games, especially Star Wars games, that had incredible, cinematic trailers, and they ended up being duds. Most notoriously, Battlefront. The trailers for both the EA Battlefront games, both of them had incredible cinematic trailers, and they ended up being shit games. I can say the same thing about the Force Unleashed 2, which I think that cinematic trailer makes the Fallen Jedi's cinematic trailer look like complete garbage. And that game was, still to this day, one of the most disappointing games I've ever played. I think that in practice, if they're planning to do everything that they said that they're going to do, then we're looking at a type of Star Wars game that we really haven't had since The Force Unleashed 1, which came out like over 10 years ago. But yeah, I gotta see some gameplay. Maybe we'll see something at E3, I don't know, but as it stands right now, I'm willing to give it a chance. When it comes out, it's probably not something I'm going to buy. I'm probably going to rent it from GameFly. But if we're just talking strictly the cinematics, I don't really have much of an opinion. It looks nice, but heck, it looks can be deceiving. That's the whole point. It was a very quick, put-together trailer for a specific group of people, and it was not meant to show much. We didn't get to see much, and yeah, that's just my quick thoughts on the cinematic trailer. Next question comes from Mr. Shoutout himself, Will Williams. So, yeah, and you probably have the most interesting question of the bunch, and you want to know what 3 video game franchises are my favorite, and which game from each franchise is the best. Oh, that's easy. Okay, in no particular order, my 3 favorite franchises are Metal Gear Solid, specifically Hideo Kojima's Metal Gear Solid, Dead Space, and Final Fantasy, and from each specific game. From Dead Space, it's Dead Space 2, which I consider to be probably my personal favorite, probably the greatest survival horror game of all time. From Final Fantasy, I think it's Final Fantasy X, which I can, to this day, it is still my favorite JRPG of all time. And for Metal Gear Solid, it is Metal Gear Solid 3, which not only do I think it's one of the greatest stealth games of all time, that is literally my favorite video game of all time. You guys don't see this, but I actually keep a collection of all my Metal Gear Solid games right here. And that is the only game in which I have 5 copies. I have 5 copies of Metal Gear Solid 3. Crazy story. If you guys ever want to know exactly how that happened, just let me know. And the last question of the episode comes from Black Lady. And you want to know, do I think that Kratos still has Hades' soul? If not, what are some theories that could have gone? No, I don't think he has any more of those powers that he got from God of War 3. I believe because if obviously you've played it, you have to remember that Kratos stabbed himself with the blade of Olympus, and so I have to believe that by releasing hope that was apparently in his body, like the essence of hope that he had to give to mankind, he lost all his powers. So that's why he's considerably weaker power-wise in God of War 4. I mean, that's just my theory. I mean, they always have to give some sort of excuse as for why Kratos always loses his powers at the beginning of every new game. And they've done a decent job at that. Because, you know, in beginning God of War 2, you know, he had to drain his godly powers into the blade. And then in God of War 3, he fell into Hades and he fell into the river Styx. And that apparently cleansed him of all of his powers. So I believe him stabbing himself with the Blade of Chaos probably stripped him of all of his powers that he had gained throughout the game. So that's just my personal theory. And with that, those are all the questions that managed to make it into the video. I'd like to thank the three of you to send your questions in. If you guys have any more questions you'd like me to answer, and next week's episode, be sure to type them in the comments down below. But make sure you get them in to me before next Wednesday, roughly before noon. And if you want to better your chances of having them being answered in the video, just make sure they have a bit of depth. Unless you want to just send in a question in the comment section that you just want a quick answer, and that works just fine. And also, don't forget to press one of the links in the description down below so you can follow me on all my social media outlets. That way, if you want to ask me a question directly, you can do that. And like always, I want to thank you guys for watching. You're awesome, and I'll see you next time.